recording in 960. I always forget that this camera has that option, but we'll see how it goes. I think last time I did this, it put the video in kind of a square instead of a long, wide angle, but I'll give it a try, see how it goes. It's raining here in California. I've got my little dash light going. It's super bright. I need to do something about that because it's affecting my eyes, but until then, it is what it is. It's nice that we're having this degree of weather, or this degree of rain, after being in a water drought for so long. Just kind of sucks because there's so many things I want to do with my camera out in nature. I want to take you guys to certain spots, but it'll have to wait until the warmer months, I think. So until then, we're doing the classic car videos. These are actually my favorite videos to do. I like ranting in my vehicle. I'm actually considering putting a Patreon together, you guys. So let me know if you'd be interested in that. That would be like $3 to $5 a month that you'd pay, and you'd get bonus content for this channel. You'd be given direct access to me where you can ask me anything you want in the form of questions and comments, you name it. I'll get back to you promptly. There would be a community section, you name it. And this would be kind of a way of donating to me and getting something back. So I have a donation option available right now through my website, www.sacredserpent.webs.com. You can find the information in the description box. But it just feels kind of weird to me taking donations from people and not really having something to give back to them. So I've considered putting a Patreon together for a while now. I actually have a layout for it up and going. I just haven't really launched it publicly. So let me know if you guys would be interested in that. I don't even know how many people would even sign up. I know that there's people with 400,000 subscribers who only have like 300 people signed up to their Patreon account. So with me not even having 5,000, it might not really even be worth the effort. But with that Patreon, you'd get exclusive public Let's try that again. If you subscribed to the Patreon account, you would get private video content that you wouldn't be able to access on the YouTube channel. And you would get information regarding cleansing and all that stuff. I'd show you guys the different herbal formulas I use. Essentially, I wanted to create this as a way for people who wanted to contact me to get a hold of me immediately, while offering some video content. And I'd be showing you guys the books, the tatwas, all that, the different meditational tools. So I'm not going to launch it unless I know people are going to be interested in it. So if you guys could leave some comments if you're interested in the comment box, I'd appreciate it. Whether you're interested or not, please leave a comment. I'm probably just going to keep trudging forth with the public YouTube stuff. But it would be kind of fun to do that, to have kind of a private expansion pack to the public YouTube channel. But you know, aside from all that, we are living in a time and age where we have a lot of options at our fingertips, you guys. We have a lot of access to foods that a lot of people don't. So, you know, in a lot of my videos, I talk about how the supermarkets, a lot of the food is poisonous and made with fluoride. You name it, the breads are made with fluoride. Most of the bottled waters are in the plastics are estrogen mimickers and are affecting your hormones. But aside from all that, aside from all the crazy shit, you guys, the fact that we have the ability to go to a store and have all these options is such a blessing compared to what many people don't have. So aside from the fact that these supermarkets, in my opinion, are deliberately poisoning us, it is kind of a nice, it's a beautiful thing to have access to. Because not everything in the store is all that bad. I mean, if you go in there as a vegan and you don't give in to all the animal products and you just get your vegetables, your fruits, your rice, your grains, your beans, you name it, you can effectively utilize the supermarket in such a different manner than what most people are doing. So that's something to consider. but I feel pretty bad for all the people who have been duped and led astray and have bought into the idea that a standard American diet. I mean, it's amazing how many people I know who have caught hell in relation to their health. They've got tumors, cancers, diabetes, and they actually think that these standard American foods aren't the direct catalyst for their issues. So, I mean, when I've had family members who developed cancers, you name it, and the last thing they ever considered was the fact that their diet and their fluids were suboptimal, that they were consuming since they were very young. And most of these people I know who I've communicated with believe that they've just been dealt a bad hand of cards. Now, when you think like that, you automatically, by default, forfeit your power over to the enemy that's killing you, the eugenics, the health degrading, debauching, genetically modifying, hormone disrupting system that's trying to manipulate your genetics and make you into something that you're not supposed to be. That's a topic for a completely different rant. But again, when you think that your health is a genetic dice roll, or that you've been simply dealt a bad hand of cards, you've given your power over to something else. Because 9 times out of 10, people's diseases and bad health are a direct reflection of the mirror of your health. So what I find, I just had this idea in my head. Wouldn't that be interesting if there was like a occult, an arcane, magical mirror that you could walk up to that was the size of your body, and you could take all your clothes off and stand in front of this mirror naked, and it would show you kind of like a physiological x-ray of how sick your organs were and your glandular system, and how plugged up your digestive system and your eliminative channels are, how swollen your liver is, how debauched and degraded and plugged full of different negative constituents your thyroid is. The thyroid has a intimate connection with the pituitary. It's just insane is what I'm getting at. If people could take a look at, if that mirror could show them just how low of wattage the life force was actually moving through them. And in my opinion, it's oftentimes a direct relation, these bad health consequences, to our lifestyle, to our thinking, to certain people that we live with, you name it. There's a lot of stress here in the Matrix. It's crazy. It's crazy how sick people are and how unaware they are of the fact that they've participated in developing their own sicknesses. Let's start with water alone. Now, I talk about this in most of my videos because it's such an important subject that it deserves to be repeated. The water that people are consuming is a health-destroying potion. It's a poisonous potion. You can think of it that way. Every time you go and you buy a water bottle from the store, you can think of it as a magic ritual being used against you to weaken your system. Now, I have a little bit of carbonated water here, but compared to what most people are consuming out here in cans and in water bottles, I don't consume anywhere near that amount. So there's a time and a place. There's a way that you can bend the rules. You can still have fun out here. I can still consume some fucking carbonated water, but I know that it's not a healthy constituent, ladies and gentlemen. The water that they put in this carbonated water is horrible. It's not distilled water. So, but I think it would make people's lives much more interesting if they could view or kind of take on the effective role-playing in this dimension and kind kind of look at everything out there in the supermarket as kind of like a form of sorcery on your genetics. You kind of have to realize that this is a game and that they're using genetic warfare and sorcery against you. And that it just makes life so much funner when you know that there's an enemy against you and you get to play the game. It's like chess, excuse me. I like that kind of lifestyle. I'm not saying that I wish it was the way it is or that I'm glad that we're being poisoned or that there's this and that. No. But with the way the cards fell, I'm very happy to be here to fight this war. And it is a war, ladies and gentlemen. Once you realize that we have a greater state of being that we've separated from, there's a schism between the two, you'll realize that there is a war, and it's a genetic war. It's a war on consciousness. It's a cellular war. So, full battery, I like that. Get a little sip of water here. I had a paycheck that was supposed to come on the 21st and it's late. Kind of sucks. So I was going to buy a bunch of vegetables, most likely, and make a big pot of vegan soup on this cold day and night, whatever. And I was going to remineralize it with some fulvic acid, some magnesium, and add some superfoods to it. Soup is a very healthy thing if it's made properly. I mean, if you make... Excuse me, one moment. If you make soup with tap water, or if you make soup with filtered water, and then you make a soup with distilled water, and you compare the taste of the two, it's a completely different experience. Distilled water is so soft, and it's so free of the heavy constituents that's in tap water and filtered water that it practically like falls down your throat. It's a completely different experience. Most coffee drinkers, when I put them on distilled water, the first time that they drink distilled coffee, it's like they're amazed at how much smoother it is, how much more of the coffee they can actually taste. So to play the game of health, to take on the role as the alchemist, to take on the role as the soldier or the sage, whatever, the mage, just develop yourself an avatar, develop yourself a character, and fight this war. What are you good at? Base your character around that. The character of life, it's you. I like to consider myself more of a shaman or a shaman, even though compared to like a shaman in the Amazon, I'm nothing. But I am in this context of the city, utilizing shamanism, you name it. So it is what it is, man. I'm just rambling. But water is the essential key to playing the game. It's how it all starts, because 70% or more of your body is composed of fluid, of water. And due to that, we really are a walking biological water fountain. This fountain that we walk in circulates blood throughout the system. We have a heart that pumps and pulls fluids, you name it. It's a miraculous machine that thrives off of water. Just like a fountain. And you don't put sludge in your fountain, your water fountain. You know, if you have one in your garden, it will plug it up. It'll destroy the pump. It'll fry the motor. You name it. It's really coming down here right now. But, you know, that's the beauty of fruit in general. I'm not particularly I don't completely resonate with the fruitarian energy, because I am a big fan of vegetables, algae, you name it. But fruit is so high in water content. It's so electromagnetically alive and just full of life force that even though you're eating something that's considered a solid, it's highly liquid. So, but as long as that really, in order to get the most out of fruit, you really have to masticate it properly. Otherwise, You'll just have big chunks of mango or big chunks of watermelon in your gut. There's been times where I've eaten watermelon and then like 4 hours later thrown up, and it was still in chunks. Nothing had been digested. So our digestion has really been manipulated here in this matrix. From years of eating cooked, standardized foods. These foods weaken the digestive muscles and the digestive fortitude and fire of your physiology. And that's why many people resort back to eating cooked foods once they go raw vegan, because their body, they just get bloated. They think that the diet's making them sick because they're holding on to all this stuff without having elimination. But, there's ways to mitigate that. There's ways around this. You can't blame a diet for making you feel ill due to the fact that your body is not healthy enough to uptake the nutrients and utilize these foods. You have to blame the diet that you were on previously. See, most people get the two mixed up, and that's a dangerous thing. So when most people go from eating meat to eating a vegetarian diet, and their adrenals are all blown, and their tissues and their organs they've been fried to such an extent from the acids in all these meats, and they try to go alkaline. It's completely different chemistry here, ladies and gentlemen. And most people will end up blaming the vegan diet or the raw food diet, the vegetarian diet, a diet devoid of animal meat. They'll resort back to eating the animal meat because these constituents in animal meat are stimulants, acidic stimulants. Not to mention a lot of the people eating factory farmed, murdered, tortured animals, they're getting the adrenaline and the growth hormone, the antibiotics and vaccines. All these things just jack you up and stimulate you. So it's unfortunate that many people I know who went vegetarian or tried to go vegan, they got so interested in this stuff, and then they went back to their old ways, and suddenly they're just totally against veganism. And I know personally a handful of people who have gone vegetarian or vegan because of me. And when it doesn't work in the way that they expect it to, they've felt like they got ill and like pushed this energy on me like, oh, he made me sick. He doesn't know what he's talking about, that fool. I should have stayed on meat. It's like, come on, dude. If you're not smart enough to realize that you're experiencing an adjustment period, then you shouldn't even fucking come into the realm of veganism or vegetarianism or raw foodism or liquidarianism, because this system, these different altered forms of diet that are uncommon here in the West require you to have some fucking mental fortitude and some ability to break through and understand that the symptoms you are experiencing are normal because you are adjusting to a new food source. All these people that have listened to me and gone vegetarian or vegan and become fatigued and blame me like, oh, dude, I think I almost died. I became so ill. Your mind's ill, Junior. And that's why you can't realize that you're just adjusting. Think of it this way. I mean, if you had a gas vehicle that ran on unleaded, and suddenly you wanted to utilize one of those, they can take cars and make them run off of certain forms of like, excuse me one moment. Let's put it this way. Imagine if you had a car that ran on unleaded gas, like the vehicle that I'm in right now, and you wanted it to be a solar vehicle. But you just fucking didn't upgrade the material, put solar panels on the car, do modifications, put a battery in, etc. to the vehicle, and you expected it just to fucking become a solar car without doing any work to it, this unleaded vehicle. And you blamed the car, without you doing any modifications to it, for not becoming a solar vehicle, a solar-powered vehicle. Many people are like that with their bodies. They expect it to run a certain way without putting any of the work into it and doing what needs to be done in the form of maintenance. I mean, this path is not for everyone because it's going to require someone who can dig deep enough underneath the common, how would I put it? You really have to be in touch with your intuition to go on a cleansing path, because chances are, if you're not really in tune with your intuition, you're going to assume things the wrong way and go back out of fear to eating your old disgusting fucking diet. Because it brought you a sense of peace and a sense of energy because of all the stimulants in the meat. There's a cultural conditioning here because now you fit back in with everyone. Social situations are easy at family gatherings, you name it, because you're eating what everyone else is eating from the fucking trough of humanity. Yeah. There's something else I wanted to throw in there. What was it, damn it? So, I really don't give a damn what people are going to do anymore. When I became a vegan, when I became a vegetarian, when I experimented with raw foods, I became a very angry person, and it was a phase. It was a necessary phase. That anger actually helped keep me from consuming meat. I think most people who stop eating animal meat, people who give up the dairy products, you name it, they're angry at the system. They're angry at the way things are. And that's a good thing, because in those initiatory phases of becoming a vegan or a vegetarian, while you're in that state of anger, the degree of anger that you're experiencing can actually keep you away from going back to your old ways. So when I gave up meat, there was a brief period where I went through a lot of fatigue, but my anger and my disappointment in myself for fucking eating this stuff all these years kept me. It put like a force field around me, and I just, regardless of what I was experiencing mentally and physiologically, I did not want to go back to my old ways. I knew that this was just an adjustment period. So, it's cool to me to see all the comments people are leaving about the health benefits of them going vegetarian. It means a lot to me to hear from all you guys. I'd love, if you've made it this far in the video, for you to leave some comments on your veganism, your vegetarianism, your raw foodism, your fasts. I'd like to hear from you about the benefits of I'd like to hear some benefits about your diet and how you've changed it. It's so fascinating to me to not consume what's commonplace here in this matrix, because what's commonplace in this matrix is 9 times out of 10 really fucking bad for you, ladies and gentlemen, spiritually and physically. In my opinion, there's a huge spiritual ramification for eating these tortured, murdered animals. And sure, I mean, you can consume grass-fed beef and chicken and free-range chicken. It's just weird to me how most people aren't aware of how that chicken was treated, who killed it, whether it's a male or a female, what it ate. I mean, it's just weird to me. There's this soft, intuitive, gentle energy around a plant-based diet, for me at least, because I know that when I chop up a head of celery, when I chop up an onion or cut some garlic, I would have absolutely no spiritual guilt if I were to just walk somewhere in nature and pull a head of celery out of the ground, or to pull an onion out of the garden. I would feel so much guilt to go out and slaughter a cow. What a barbaric ritual, in my opinion. Not to mention, it's like these people who eat all this meat, they're not really looking at it from an objective and reasoning standpoint. In the sense that to be a vegan or a vegetarian, it's so easy to go out somewhere and just pick these fruits and vegetables, put them in a satchel and come all the way back home or walk home. It's easy to forage things such as fruits and vegetables. I do it all the time. But I mean, compared to that, I mean, if you were to go out and kill a fucking cow, you'd have to bring a gun. You'd have to bring a knife. You'd have to have some way of hanging the cow by its feet. and then you'd have to cut its throat or something, or etc., to bleed it all out, to get all the blood out of the cow. And chances are, while you were doing this, you'd be standing in a pool of blood, because a cow has a lot of blood in it, ladies and gentlemen. And as the blood trickles out of its throat and starts to develop into a pool on the floor beneath it, it begins to get bigger and bigger and bigger. So now you're standing in a pool of cow blood, watching this thing bleed out. Now you've got to skin the animal. Now you've got to take the hide off of it. Then you've got to know how to cut the meat, separate the bones, remove the vertebra, store it, and you'd have to have like a refrigerated truck to get the stuff back home. Instead, I'd rather just walk out into nature where that same fucking cow lives and harvest my own fruits and vegetables with a couple of bags. And I'm content that way. It makes me feel good to be a minimalist. I don't need a bunch of shit to be happy. I don't need to kill something to be happy. It's a fucking joke. People have just fallen for this shit. And a lot of it has to do with the ancestry thing. Like, our ancestors ate meat, so I need it. Your ancestors also did a lot of heathenistic things that you wouldn't agree with. But you only choose that which helps perpetuate your addiction. The good things that you think were good about your ancestors. Oh, they ate meat, so I'm going to pick that. And yeah, I'm going to use that as a way to justify my addictions. It's insane. It's a crazy world, my friends. It's a crazy fucking world. I'm going to be showing you guys a lot more of my sprouting garden here in the near future. Because sprouts are really interesting. You can grow them inside, and in the winter months, you can grow them if you have the right temperatures, you name it. And, alfalfa is very high in chlorophyll. Alfalfa is very cheap. You can buy organic, non-GMO alfalfa. I think I bought a 2-pound bag for like $10 shipped to the door. That lasts me almost a year. A tablespoon of alfalfa seed, once you sprout it, will fill up such a large tray of sprouts. And I really do recommend that people utilize sprouting in this crazy world where when you go to a store, the food may be raw, but it's not living. It's not live anymore. So there's a difference between raw foods and live foods. Raw food is something that has been picked off the vine or the tree, you name it, and then shipped to a supermarket, and it sits there for a while. Living food would be an orange that you picked right off the tree and then ate it immediately. And that's what's beautiful about sprouts, is that sprouts, they're growing, they're continuing to grow, and you can eat them. And due to that, there's a lot of enzyme activity. There's a lot of mineral activity in a different status, in a different state, than it would be if it was, say, like a 2-week-old cucumber in a supermarket. It's been off the vine for so long. So, I mean, you've got your clover sprouts, you've got your alfalfa sprouts, you've got your broccoli sprouts, you've got your mung bean sprouts, you've got your radish sprouts, you've got beet greens, you've got fenugreek, you've got red clover. Sunflower sprouts are amazing. There's so much that you can. Garbanzo bean sprouts, pea sprouts. You got your purple microgreens that are high in purple pigments that are very good for you. The purple fruits and vegetables are very high in nutrition. I'm a big fan of Dr. Gabriel Cousens' rainbow diet philosophy. And Dr. Gabriel Cousens is a naturopathic doctor, a medical doctor, and a psychiatrist. The man is pretty damn intelligent. He's been on both sides of the fence, the naturopathic side and the medical side. And he wrote the book Depression Free for Life. He wrote the book Spiritual Nutrition, 6 Key Foundations for Awakening Kundalini. I believe that's the name of the book. But that book is an amazing volume for anyone interested in Kundalini. It's about 600 pages. But it's basically a book on utilizing certain lifestyle principles and diet to stimulate the body to get the body prepared for Kundalini rising. But he wrote the book, There's a Cure for Diabetes, I believe it's called. I can't remember all the books that he's written, a ton of them. Very smart man. But he has the rainbow diet theory, which is basically utilizing the colors of foods to stimulate the chakra centers. So utilizing things like hibiscus for the Muladhara root chakra. Using purple foods for the upper regions of the spinal system and the chakras. And essentially he's saying that foods, particular colors in foods, actually the pigments, stimulate different aspects of the upper and lower regions of the human spinal system in the entire physiology. So, really interesting stuff too. I used to make a rainbow salad where I'd put every color, every single one of the 7 colors of the chakras in my salad, other than blue. So I get, essentially it would be 6 colors. But to mitigate that and to supplement the blue colors for the throat chakra, I would utilize my blue-green algae potion that had been steeped for like a week that would turn purple and blue. Perfect blue. Blue is a hard thing to find out here in the natural world of fruits and vegetables, herbs, you name it. A lot of things that are considered blue, like blueberries or even blue potatoes, they're actually purple. So... but with AFA blue-green algae and with quality spirulina, Arthrospira splitensis, you can steep it long enough in water where you'll actually begin to pull the blue pigments out of the algae, and it will turn a perfect blue. To this date, I've never found anything else in the natural world to consume that actually turns blue like that. Real blue, not a blueberry that's actually purple. We're talking real blue. So, there was a long period of time where I would intermittent fast all day and then consume a giant salad at night. And it was weird. When I used to do that, I wouldn't have effective bowel movements, but I felt like I was uptaking it into my tissues. It was the weirdest thing. It felt like it was actually the food being absorbed into my tissues. And I wouldn't have quality bowel movements, but I didn't feel heavy. I didn't feel bloated. I didn't feel constipated. Strange experience. I didn't actually feel bad, but it wasn't until I realized that I needed to start doing some particular fasting and cleansing. I wasn't effectively digesting those salads. Salads can be a delicious thing and they can be a very healthy thing, but you have to be able to digest these plant fibers in order to even uptake it. So the quality of health that we can attain from nutrition is primarily dependent on the degree of digestion that we harbor. If we don't have quality digestion, we end up holding on to these foods that are healthy, and when we hold on to them and we don't eliminate them properly, they simply become toxic residues. They start to putrefy. They start to rancidify, ferment, coagulate. They start to impact. A lot of this stuff can end up turning into mucus globules. A lot of these healthy foods, when they get stuck in the tissues, when they can't eliminate, they rancidify to an extent where they change their pH, they begin to acidify the bloodstream, they begin to acidify the tissues, and they become a perfect breeding ground for parasitic activity. So, I mean, you can get interested in the philosophies of raw veganism, you name it, and utilize these things and end up doing damage to your system. This is a gingerly thing. You have to approach health gingerly and rationally. And unfortunately, many people don't know how to do that. So they'll get interested in these healthy fads. They'll try it. That doesn't give them the satisfaction that they're craving and expecting. So they give up. People go into certain things with expectations that don't meet up to reality. And when you put expectations on something like cleansing and it doesn't give you exactly what you want, that's not an excuse to go back to your old ways. I'm going to try the vegan thing, but if it doesn't give me this, if it doesn't give me that, in 1 week I'm giving up. Pussies. Excuse me. It's for this reason alone that I emphasize and put stress on cleansing as an essential prerequisite to diet. Not only is cleansing fun, not only is it interesting, not only is it engaging to see the stuff that you're eliminating come out of you, not only does it feel good to get this stuff out of your system, but it helps get the body to a point where it can hold on, it can get rid of a lot of its bullshit. It would be like you being a hoarder, and just hoarding all sorts of weird shit in your house, like old envelopes and newspapers from 30 years ago. I've seen this show, Hoarders, on TV, where some of these people, there's so much shit in their house that they can't even move around. So imagine having a house like that on the inside, where you're holding on to shit from experiences 20 years ago, 10 years ago, fecal residues and impactions. A lot of us are hoarders physiologically. So to let go of a lot of this stuff, it can feel very liberating. It can feel very good. It helps get rid of shit, and it helps open up space so that you can absorb more. It's amazing what I've seen come out of people with colonic irrigations. It's amazing what I've seen come out of people with the simple enema protocols. And I like enema protocols because you can do them from the comfort of your own home. But a colonic irrigation compared to an enema, you can't even compare the two. Colonic irrigation will help you get from point A to point B a lot quicker. Unless you're utilizing the coffee enemas and a few other very valuable enema recipes. But the coffee enema is one of the most powerful, hands down. Hands down. I do have a little bit of colloidal silver here. I go through a few bottles of that every year. If I start to feel sick or if I start to feel kind of under the weather, I will utilize colloidal silver therapies, and it does help. But I mean, silver is a natural antibiotic. It's a natural antiviral, antibacterial, antifungal. It's one of the most potent natural constituents for those particular energies. But regardless of what people are going to say about silver, if you look at a lot of excuse me. If you go onto like curezone.com and you look up if you look up silver and you look at people's personal discoveries and journeys with silver and utilizing it to combat sickness, there's some pretty interesting material out there. But everyone's going to have their own dietary ideologies. A lot of people will say that silver, you shouldn't be in your body, you name it, even though they've never done any research on it, never done any personal experimentation. A lot of people buy into the propaganda machine. I am going to wrap this one up on... I'm beginning to not make sense, so I am going to wrap this one up. On behalf of the Sacred Starseed Serpent Uraeus YouTube channel, thank you for watching this video. I hope that my videos, my channel, my messages, and my passion can help reignite the flame in your heart for health today. There's nothing more important than taking care of your health. It is the foundational prerequisite to a quality life that you should allow no one to take from you. I hope that as a vegan or a vegetarian, you name it, someone who's transitioning to a plant-based diet, I hope that this message can help instill the fact that if you're experiencing some turmoil, if you're experiencing some duress, if you're experiencing some fatigue, it's your body not getting the stimulants that it's used to when you ate the animal food, the dairy, you name it. So it's going to go into shock for a little bit. So you can either give up like most do, or you can stay on the road. Peace be with you.